you for joining us. Now, let's focus on this story. There's been plenty of reaction coming in today after suspended ANC Secretary General Ace Magashule served court papers challenging the party's step-aside resolution. He claims it's unlawful, unconstitutional, invalid, and violates the principle of innocent until proven guilty. But where does this leave the party? It's now going to have to spend precious resources defending the resolution. I'm joined now in the studio here on the Midday View by political analyst Thabo Shole-Mashao. Good afternoon, Thabo. Just to analyze some of this. First up, I guess one would say the way Ace Magashule has responded or not responded or behaved, one would have anticipated a legal challenge, a court challenge against his suspension.
Certainly, he was not cooperating from the very first moment. You remember he went on to consult various leaders of the African National Congress. Day 30 came and we expected him to do the right thing and just say, let me step aside. We didn't see all of that. So he was somewhat rebellious to the processes of the ANC. So this doesn't necessarily come as a surprise.
Yeah, it's about his suspension, but also saying he has a right as well. He had a right to write the suspension letter against the president of the ANC.
Yeah, sure. And some people may see a bit of a contradiction there and saying, you are suspended based on the very same rule, and you are saying that's null and void. However, you want to suspend the president on a similar rule, and that could also, why is that not null and void? And I know his answer already, because he will say, no, listen, the NEC in this particular instance was very particular on those who have been charged, whilst NASREC did not necessarily go to those who have been charged. So, and he could also cite the fact that the president somehow polluted the environment and the atmosphere in the ANC by allegedly having used money to win conference. So he's got some points. However, the strength of the argument is a bit wobbly at this moment.
Yeah, and I wonder what legally, how that's going to be handled. I know our courts have been handling a lot of politically related cases in the past. But just to pause for a bit before we go back to this current issue, the ANC top leadership has faced historically such major upheavals where at some point top leaders, members of the NEC, have had to be expelled from the party.
Certainly. I mean, you're talking about the great ANC leaders. Their very first President General, who was their President General in 1912, Langalbalele Dube, left the party to create his own party on the side and his own gathering on the side. And we do know about Pixley Kaisakasem and many other. He's not the first.
And there was a group of 8 in the 60s, I think.
Of course. And
with O.R. Tambo and them having expelled those from the... could we be headed there?
No, listen. If for now the Secretary General had to be thinking about creating another party, he knows that that's a waste of time. He'd rather fight from inside. We know what happened to COPE, and EFF is really an exception to the rule, to be honest. Because currently, if you were to do that, you are going to lose a strong power base of those who supported you, who will remain with the ANC. And you have nothing to provide because you don't have power, you can't dispense patronage, and now why should they follow you under such circumstances?
Do you think, from what you are seeing, from your analysis, has it got a good enough support, or does Ramaphosa feel strong enough that in this particular case the ANC will prevail?
In the balance of the ANC, the balance of forces are tilting in strong favor of President Cyril Ramaphosa.
What's driving that in your view?
But I mean, he had played his chess game very well. The other side hadn't. He played the PR machinery to his favor. He was a victim, and people were saying, no, he's soft, he's not acting. But the other side didn't help themselves at all. They, the RET faction, they were outside defending characters that may be deemed to be unscrupulous here and there. So they did a lot of work for him, but he has been very strategic. To the RET group, to be honest, their advisors, their PR machinery has been nothing but weak. It has been in shambles. They thought that by raising their voices, singing the loudest, they can sway the rest of the majority of the ANC.
Particularly because Cyril Ramaphosa has never spoken against radical economic transformation. Even in the January 8 statement early this year, he was referring, because it is an ANC resolution.
Certainly. And now they not on Jesse Juate, the deputy SG, mentioned it as the radical economic and social transformation. And I thought we should take note of that as they are wrestling the terminology away from the RET to make it REST.
Now, let's just speculate here. The court throws it out, or the court rules in favor of the ANC. Or Ramaphosa, because I think the court papers were served on the organization, on the president, and the deputy SG,
Certainly.
because she's the one who wrote the
Yes.
suspension letter to Ace Magashule.
Yeah.
Where does that leave Ace? Politically, if it happened, I mean, this is the legal case now.
I mean, it leaves him in the political ICU, to put it mildly, because it would be yet another strong blow to his political
it's a huge
career.
risk he's taking.
It's a massive risk. I mean, it's a win all or lose all kind of situation, because if he wins, he would have thrown the ANC into a tailspin. Every single person who's told to step aside will say, we'll use this as a precedent. And
some of them have already stepped aside.
And now it's going to literally, but the horse has bolted already. And now, whichever way it goes, it can never be the same for the African National Congress.
And the ANC has to defend this, obviously, and their coffers are not full at the moment from what we had in that leaked video, in that leaked audio by Paul Mashatile at the last ANC meeting last week. And thank you very much, Thabo,
I appreciate your time,
for your time and insights at this hour here on the Media View on eNCA. Political analyst Thabo Shole-Mashao.